Hi folks, this is video number 21 in the playlist that I'm preparing for 3D Experience CATIA, generative shape design application. The particular item that I will be looking at is making a line with the option angle and slash normal curve. When you go to generative shape design, you see the menu list at the bottom, and selecting the wireframe tab will allow you to pick a line icon. And the line icon, here's a dialog box for it. There's a pull down menu here that you select different ways of making a line. I've already done videos for point direction, and this is now angle and normal to curve. Now, uh, although what I'm going to be doing applies to a general slanted plane, another word, for example, a curve drawn in a slanted plane. Uh, what I will do is I will look at the curve being actually first case being a line in the XY plane, and the second one is again a curve. This time is not a line, but actually it's a curvature in the XY plane. And finally, I look at the curve that lies on a surface. Okay, but what I'm doing can be done in general uh, for slanted plane. Okay. Now, one more thing I'm going to show you is that if you go to the help documentation for 3D Experience CATIA and look for creating a line normal to a curve, there are some cautions here. It says we advise you to do dot 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 or not to do dot, etc. That's okay. So let me go ahead here. Start a generative. Go to generative shape design. Start the port file. Okay. This is the first case. So I'm going to do my curve in the XY plane. So on the XY plane, I will sketch a line like that. Exit. Okay. So we actually have a line here, right? Which happens to be in the XY plane. So we're going to create a line with the pull down menu selecting angle normal to curve. Okay. So my curve is this. Now notice that as soon as I selected that, the support was automatically picked to be the plane XY. Okay, XY plane. Now, uh, if I had done this thing in a slanted plane, you would also have to select the support. Or even here, you can change the support if you want to, but I'm not going to do that. So the point is, let's say this point. Okay. Now notice that as soon as I selected this point, that was lost. That support is lost. So I have to go and select it myself again, right there, right there. See that? Now, before I selected that point, uh, it took the default XY plane, but as soon as I select that point, it loses that and it says go pick it. Because when you think about it, this line in general can lie in any plane that passes through that line. Okay, but anyway, I lost this thing, so I go and select it right there. Okay, so let's see what happened here. So what it did, it actually uh, created. Let me change this angle so you can see it better. See this? And let me change the length here so you can see it better. So what it did, it went to that plane, XY plane, the support. It drew a line, which makes 45-degree angle, because this 66-degree angle and I can change that. If you want to make it perpendicular to that line, no problem. You can click on this. It makes it perpendicular, 90 degrees. So a line was created which is normal to a curve. This is the line that's created, and it's normal to this curve that I originally drew in the XY plane. And let me change the length of it. You can go like that, yeah. And then you can also take this, offset the point. You see where it starts, you can offset it. Okay. You can change the angle. If you don't want it 90 degrees, you can change this thing, for example, to 100 and, I don't know, 507. And all these things that you have, all these things that you have seen before are also applying here. For example, this is going to be infinite line in this direction. This is going to be infinite in the other direction. This is going to be infinite in both directions. And this is actually the line between 2 points. All right. So, and incidentally, you can repeat this. For example, if I go repeat object after validation, no problem. So, okay. And I say 3 of them. What it does, it basically takes this thing and makes 3 more for it with that same angle, that was 100 and something. Can't remember. Yeah. Control Z. Okay, so let's try it one more time. So we make a line, angular normal to curve. This is my curve. The point, I select this point. Notice that as soon as I selected this point, this line, the default plane was taken. But once I go and select this, it loses that. So you go pick it, because I can take any other plane that this lies in. But I'm going to do XY. Okay. Yeah. Don't worry about this for now. Don't worry about that. I'm sure it's a graphics bug. Now, you can change the angle. You can change the length. Okay. You can make it perpendicular. We're back to 45, etc. And then this is the point, offset the other point. So, okay, that's what you get. All right. So this was the first case. Now I'm going to change this thing to a curve, actually with curvature. So let me delete all these things. I'm going to delete that sketch. Okay. So let me select XY plane, and on it, we'll sketch. This time is spline, for example, something like this. Now notice that what I'm doing now is actually in the XY plane. The spline is in the XY plane. This is going to be my curve. Now I can do that, the point that I pick can be the end point, or it can be any other point. Let me actually go and make a point on this curve. For example, this. Good. Okay. So now we go make a line. Use the pull down menu, make it angle normal to curve. For the curve, I select this spline. And again, notice that because it was drawn in the XY plane, it took a default plane, XY plane. But once I go and select this point, it will lose that. Don't worry about this. Okay. It's kind of distracting, but that's okay. It will go away. Now for the support, I lost the support, I go and select the XY plane. Okay. So what happened is it took the tangent. It took the tangent to that curve at that point. This was the point that I picked. It took the tangent to that curve and made an angle with that tangent. In the case of a straight line, the tangent of the line is the same as the line itself. That's why you see that. So I knew you can change this thing. So pretty much it's the same. And the same ideas apply here. In other words, first of all, you can flip the direction also. Want it? You can make it normal to that tangent line, etc., etc. So that's okay. My offset was here. If you go back here, the offset from last time was 0. If I make it, it was 10. If I make it 0, it goes all the way there. All right. So this is case 2, and case 2 was curve is a curve with curvature in the xy plane. Now we're going to do a surface. So what do I mean by that? Let me get rid of all this stuff. All right. Let me view fit. Okay. Let me make a surface. For example, on this vertical plane, I will sketch a spline. Okay. Exit. And I'm going to create use extrude to create a surface. Sure. I'll make it a little bit longer. Yeah, 50. Okay, good. Now, I want to draw a curve on this, and the easiest way, one way of doing that, I can draw any curve up there and then project it. There's no problem, but there are other ways of doing it. For example, let me go ahead and create 2 points on this. So wireframe point on a surface. This is 1 point. Let me do another one. Point again on the surface. Here's another one. So I have 2 points. Let me move this thing a little bit. Yeah, that's good. Very good. Now, I want to get a curve on that surface, and one way to do that is create a line here. But for the support, select the surface. So what it does, it actually takes the geodesic curve, which means the curve of the shortest length between these 2 points on that surface. So this is not a line anymore. It is a curve on that surface right there. Okay, good. And let's say that I want to use that option at some point here. So let me go and select a point on this curve, on that curve at that location. So I have a curve on that surface, and I have a point on that curve. So let's go ahead and find out what this thing does. So we go to line, use the pull down menu, angle normal to curve. The curve is that geodesic curve that I took. The point is this point that I'm interested, this point. The support is the surface. And notice what it did. Immediately it drew that line for me. See that? So what's happening here is that when you select a point on that curve, immediately it draws a tangent plane, the tangent plane to that surface that is unique at that location. And essentially, we're back to square one. In other words, you have a curve, this ugly geodesic curve. You have a plane. Now that curve, incidentally, does not lie in the tangent plane. It lies on the surface. But at that point, effectively very close to it, I have that geodesic curve lying in the tangent plane to the surface, and everything else applies. For example, you can change the angle. Okay, you can do everything else, and incidentally, you can also do the offset. You see that? It is kind of hard to visualize this. It's easy to see it, to explain it in the context of everything being in a plane, not on a surface, but everything applies to a surface also, as long as the plane that we are referring to here is the tangent plane to the surface at that location. Have fun.